Hello, welcome back to Property Spy. This is a channel where we look at properties from different angles and look at properties as investors, and we discuss the different considerations one should have when trying to invest in opportunities. Now today I'm looking at a property in Luton. We'll be going to auction in a few days' time. And what caught my interest on this one and why we need to discuss it is that it looks very good. The yield is 19.2%. The income is £4,800, and based on the guide price of £25,000, it sounds wonderful. But that made me curious. At this point in time, the stage we're at in the property market and in the cycle, why are there still properties that yield nearly 20% and is described as a studio flat? And it just all didn't quite make sense. So I thought, let's dig in and see what gives. All right, so it's a property going to auction in a few weeks' time with Auction House Robinson Hall. Okay, so if we go to Auction House's website and look at the lot, you see it's a purpose-built studio apartment constructed in 2013. Fine, studio apartment. You might think, well, okay, studio apartment, that's all well and good. And then you need to dig into the paperwork. You start digging in, then you realize what it really is. Okay, it is appears to be student accommodation. Nice, lovely building. Student accommodation with a bit of guaranteed rent when it was initially sold. And if you look at the legal pack shows quite a bit of useful information. But the key things to look at and the key things to consider are these. Is the yield really 20% on 19 point whatever percent? If it is, then it sounds wonderful because there aren't many opportunities valued at that price for flats. But equally, you need to also look at, or one needs to look at, other charges. Because it's a flat, you have the standard charges. You have the ground rent that you have to pay for, and you have a service charge at the very least. But as I went through the legal pack and some of the documentation, you start seeing what's really being sold. And then the further question as an investor would have to be, okay, are you prepared? Does it meet your criteria, and does it meet your expectations? So they very kindly put some sort of accounts here. Now, the things I found were that firstly, the monthly rent was £400 per calendar month, which is fine. If you purchase this thing at 25 grand, that's okay if you receive £400 in your account. But then you need to find out what the management fee is, what the ground rent is, and all of those things. And initially, looking at the paperwork and the descriptions and particulars on the auctioneer site, I couldn't see the full description to my satisfaction. Because if you look at the pictures, you'd see that there's no picture of a kitchen, there's no photo of a kitchen. And yes, there's a shower, there's a bed, there's a desk, but no kitchen. So I thought, okay, this is interesting. When you dig deeper, you find, oh, it's a student accommodation. And when you look at further into the paperwork, I'm not suggesting it's been hidden or anything. It's just not there for you to see. It's not part of the headline. So you do need to dig deeper as an investor and always look at the paperwork. Firstly, get a solicitor to review the legal pack. That is your protection. And look at the numbers and do the numbers properly. So from what we have, we know that this was sold in 2014 for £49,950, so almost £50,000. We know that there's a management agreement, there's a ground rent, the kitchen is shared, the washing machine is shared, and you have a ground rent of £250 per annum, a service charge of £1,340 per annum. The management fee is charged on the full rental amount, so it's charged on that £400 and has a VAT element to it as well. So it comes to 6.67%. And you can see that from the paperwork as you scroll down. I think, is it on this page? So everything's there, right? So 6.67% up here. So everything's clear for you to see, but you need to dig in to find out. And then you have a tenancy renewal fee of £100, and I'd imagine that's £100 a year at least. Or if the tenant stays for just 6 months, then you have to pay again when they find another tenant. So that's the tenancy renewal fee. And then you've got management service or management maintenance invoice. Sorry. So this figure here. So all of these figures are chipping away at that headline figure of £400 per month. Now, I don't know what the full amount is or your net amount would be, but I do know that when you've deducted the ground rent and you've deducted the service charge, the management fee, the tenancy renewal, and the maintenance invoice, you end up with roughly £2,463. That's almost half of what you'd get. Or 50% of the rental per annum. That automatically pushes down the yield to 9.8%. So you see, it's no longer as lucrative as one would have thought initially. And when you look at the lease, there are also terms in there that may not be pleasant for an investor. So some of these things, nothing's been deliberately hidden. It's just the investor, who is a serious investor, would need to dig into these things and protect themselves. Because otherwise, you jump into the auction, you pay the headline figure, or you pay a bit more because you think the yield is very high, and then you'd be stuck. Because ultimately, you need something that not only can you add that to your portfolio, you also want to be able to dispose of it when it's time to sell. The guide price on this is rather low, or it's almost half of what the initial purchasers paid for it. I don't know why. It might be to attract more interest and get people bidding, or it might just be that they just cannot find anyone to pay 50 grand for this opportunity. It does have a value. But nobody quite knows what people are prepared to pay. So that was what I found interesting here. Also, you do know that, or you should bear in mind that you can't, I don't think with this property you can get an external party to be your maintenance team or your agent. You have to use the team that's been put together, the managing agent that's been put together by the organisation or the freeholder of the building. Where it's built used to be a petrol station, so that's a bit of trivia. But if you're paying for this or going to bid on this lot, the key thing I'd imagine would be the yield, or for most people, I'm guessing, would be the yield, the income, what you end up with in your bank account. And that's really all you should bear in mind and care about if you're doing this as a normal investment that you can pass on to the young ones. So that's all I've got for you today. Obviously, the key thing is when you're looking at investments, when you're looking at properties, buyer beware. Look at the legal pack, do the numbers, make sure that everything does add up, because when it's too good to be true, it usually is. Thank you and happy investing.